Bro, there's just no way that just happened right now. Oh my god, it's a giant. What's up, guys? It's CutCarryCast Ep.6, and we have another special guest, Mr. Nick Smith, or better known as the Informative Fisherman. Nick has a huge social media following, whether it be from YouTube, Instagram, or other social media outlets, and he's one of, if not the first big YouTube fishing channel, especially for me and what I've seen. I've learned more relevant information from his videos than almost any other YouTuber I can think of to this day, and it's an honor to have him on the show. Let's welcome Mr. Nick Smith. Hey, man, how's it going?
Audience. I like the crowd.
Yeah, we're all here for you, man. How's it going?
That's funny. Pretty good, man. Just chilling out tonight. It's perfect. Going frogging in the morning, shoot some more content. Just been having my hands full, designing swim baits, designing frogs, going all over the Delta, working on my sunburn, Riley.
Yeah, living the dream out there, sounds like to me.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I can't complain. I could have ended up cleaning someone's toilets or something in another life, so I'll take it.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people know about your channel, Informed Fisherman channel, but I think the place will start. Maybe a quick introduction on yourself, kind of your backstory, kind of some of the stuff you've been doing with social media, and then we'll kind of move from there.
So, yeah, I'm going to give the short and sweet version. I've done podcasts talking totally about the backstory because it's kind of fascinating, but long story short, guys, I was probably a fisherman like all you guys, obsessed with it, always bailing out on work, always bailing out when I was in elementary school, fishing tournaments, fishing for everything I could. I was just obsessed. I always wanted to do it. So I was on a fishing forum pre-social media, pre-popular social media. So basically, we're not like posting pictures and talking about our fish. They're bulletin boards. And a guy went on there one day, and he had asked, how do I use these low-profile bait casting reels? It was when the Shimano first brought them outside of the country when they went internationally. And he was on the island of Sri Lanka, and I went to write a reply. I couldn't even tell what the heck I was typing. I'm a horrible writer. So I grabbed a digital camera off the shelf, and they only took 20 to 30-second video clips back in the day. I showed them how to use the reel, made a YouTube channel right in the early 2006. So yeah, I was the first fishing how-to YouTube channel. There was 3 others before me that weren't how-to channels, but one thing led to another, and I've been doing it full-time, going on a little bit over 18 years now.
Dang, that's awesome. I know it's funny, especially for me. I'm 25 right now, and I've kind of grown up, I feel like, in the prime, social media era and everything kind of coming about with iPhones and all this different stuff. And it's funny. I was actually looking at some of your videos before the podcast just to kind of get a grip on some stuff. I know you have a couple videos with well over 1 million views, multiple in the hundreds of thousands. 115K-ish subscribers on YouTube, and a bunch on Instagram as well. And it's funny when I look and it's like, this video's 12 years old, this video's 10 years old, this video's however old, like you've been around. There's no doubt about it.
It's crazy, Riley. Honestly, bro, it's and people will go, how come you're not posting a bunch to YouTube a lot anymore? It's like I post across all the social media platforms. Instagram and Facebook are probably most reliable, but I do the TikTok thing, but TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. YouTube, like, shadow banned my account way back, like 7-8 years ago. When I broke the 130,000 subscriber mark on YouTube, they had shadow banned me because I was running other ads. I was selling my shows that I was filming to Outdoor Fishing Network, and that was Pacific Northwest, and I was basically syndicating my own program, and I would sell my own ad space, pre-Google ads. So it was a big problem when they started selling ad space in the beginning of their video. Let's say someone wanted to advertise some different hook brand, and I'm advertising Mustad in the middle of my video, and I don't know what ad they stick in the beginning, so it gets a red flag. So that's how I got shadow banned. But luckily for me, I created a name for myself in the industry knowing a lot. And so I started designing lures, doing spokes work, posting other content, shooting TV shows for their companies. So it kind of worked out. Like I went from early YouTuber to spokesperson for the industry.
Yeah, I
Designer.
mean, you gotta roll with the punches. And a side note, I think that that shadow ban thing. It's funny for you to bring it up, especially from back then that far, because I feel like nowadays we hear about that stuff with all kinds of different stuff, and people seem to don't even think that's a thing. But even back then, people were doing weird stuff. You gotta type in every single letter to somebody's Instagram handle to get it to pop up, and if you don't do that, it's not gonna pop up or whatever.
Yeah, my videos don't even show up on YouTube in the related videos anymore. If like 133,000 subscribers, okay?
Yep.
And if I post a video and you don't see the pop-up, if you don't have the bell selected, you won't ever see that I posted the video, and then it won't even show in the related video. So every now and then when I get 50, 60,000 views on a latest YouTube video, I'm shocked. Where 6-7 years ago, that was normal for me.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I'm not upset about it. It's just I'm one person in the stack of millions of people posting videos on there. So why would they address the one-off? It's business.
No, for sure. So kind of segueing into some of the Delta stuff, I think, especially with my channel, that's one of the things that a lot of people are kind of latching onto. So I'd like to kind of dive into that. Talk about a little bit of your history out there and how long you've been fishing there, those kind of things.
So thinking back, I'm trying to remember even the first time I fished the Delta. I was probably 7, 8 years old. I grew up in the Bay Area, so going out of the South Delta, it's called River's End now, but it used to be called Dale's Boat Harbor. My dad would take me over there usually one weekend day, either the Saturday or Sunday, almost every weekend. I would beg and beg and beg until my pops would take me there. So I've been fishing the Delta nearly 40 years. I'm 46 now. A little dating myself here for you, Riley, but it's nearly 40 years. And for the last almost 18 years now, I guess I think in October it is 18 years. So yeah, really, really close. I've been fishing it probably about 180 plus days a year. I fish on average now a little bit over 250 days a year. I fish Monday through Friday, but sometimes I need to edit or go do a parent's work, so I cut it back to 250. I was over 280 at one time, but my fingers couldn't heal, my feet couldn't heal. It was getting nasty.
Yeah, I mean, standing out on the deck of the boat, I think, for some people, I think fishing's sitting in a boat with a beer and a bobber or something, but you're out, cracking big ones on the Delta all day. That's heavy lifting, especially for a guy like yourself, right?
Yeah, that beer and bobber thing sounds kind of nice.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I think kind of talking about the Delta a little bit more. I mean, we look at, some of the greats that have been out there and a lot of the people that have like legitimate success year after year. It really comes down to putting in those like serious numbers like you're talking about. It's not somewhere you can just go out to, a day a week or whatever and really kind of crack the code, so to speak. You need to be out there.
Yeah, so realistically, if you look at tidal phases along with the swing of the moon, every 2.25 weeks is when your tide's basically replicating itself. So like you said, if you come in and you fish the Delta one day, okay, let's say you fish it a week before a tournament. If you're trying to catch fish or think you're on the right fish or trying to save a spot, that's not going to work. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean by that. If I'm catching fish and the tide is 2.4 to 2.7 foot income, and I'm catching them in this spot at this particular time, and it's a week later, it's going to be the exact opposite tide when you go into that tournament, and those fish will not bite there. So one little easy way I like to explain this. Imagine your driveway, okay? Everyone's driveway is on a slight tilted up angle, I would assume. Maybe I'm wrong about anybody's particular driveway that's listening to this, but let's just assume the base of your garage door is higher than the gutter in front of your driveway. Now let's imagine we have a 3-foot tide and it bottoms out below your driveway and tops out right at the base of your garage door. Now let's say we got a stick that's halfway up your driveway. On a high tide, maybe that fish is going all the way up to the base of your garage door. But a week ago, you caught that fish on that log. That's halfway up. You didn't pay attention that that fish bit it on 2.8 feet. Now, if you know a week later on that tournament, that exact spot, that log is going to be in the exact same position you caught that fish on at 2.8 feet, you can go back and replicate that bite more than likely. Now, that may have sounded like a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo, but believe it or not, that's how this works. Yeah. And going up and down, you're basically changing the scenery constantly. So one thing for an outer towner that you truly have to pay attention to, whether there's fish there or not, is the life there? Is it healthy there? Is there current nearby? How's the vegetation look? Do I see bluegills? Do I see golden shiners? If you went pre-fishing and found the nicest stuff for all those with about 2.5 to 4 foot of visibility, and you marked all those waypoints instead of just fishing that day and seeing what bit in those areas, you would do way better. And that's just a simple reality of the matter, because you're around a higher percentage of fish, not necessarily the fish that bit for you that particular day when you were pre-fishing. Get that?
No, yeah, I got that. And I think kind of building off what you're saying, something I think I'm trying to remember who was, I think it was one of the tournaments that Bub Tosh won or something a couple years ago. I remember he was talking about, burning around the Delta before the tournament, and all he was looking for was areas with good grass. That's all he was looking for. He's like, I didn't even care about fishing them. I just wanted to see the areas with the good grass. So I burned all this gas, drove all around. I never even fished. I just found the grass, and then I came back, and then I did what I do. I did what I know how to do, and you got to work punching or doing whatnot. And I think on a place as vast and as sophisticated as the Delta is, to your point, if you're not taking the time to find those areas, you're just hoping to stumble across them or find one or here or there. It's not going to happen.
Well, it's even worse now. They spray and they pellet constantly. So, for example, if you've been out on the Delta recently, and let's say you're coming from Southern California, you're going to fish a Delta tournament right now, and you're like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to punch. People always win punching. I, on Monday, spent a whole entire tank of gas looking for a couple other punch spots that so I'm already fishing a couple areas that have good punch water. Very, very limited, though, because they've been spraying primrose, they've been spraying hyacinth, pennywort, they've been spraying, what's it called? Brazilian Elodia that's exposed. They've been pelleting those. Like, literally, I spent a whole tank of gas just trying to find another couple 100 yards of punchable water. And I'm a local there. You got to remember, the Delta's in my front yard. I got a private lake in my backyard. And I'm on this water all the time. And I still spent a whole entire tank of gas finding what to punch. Now, don't let that defeat you, because there's going to be a lot of other anglers that'll be fishing against you that are still absolutely clueless when it comes to that. So your map work, intel, all going to be highly important stuff. And what's funny, Riley, is I drive down the levees and I send my drone up to look at vegetation frequently, just because it's more affordable and faster.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real thing. It's funny you bring that up. One of my most successful videos on the channel up to this point is titled "Where Did the Fish Go?" on the Delta. And the reason I put that out is I think, for a guy like myself that, I get out maybe 4, 5, 6 times a month, just depends. So I feel like I'm out there maybe more than a lot of people, but not as much as the people that are really out there. I'm kind of this weird in-betweener where I'm kind of like always in the middle. But
no, it's pretty good, honestly. Yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of people that are really feeling that way out there lately on the Delta, where whether it's been the
tough.
last couple of years, whether it's been, this year, or, especially since we had all this high water the last couple of years, a lot of people have been kind of saying that. And I think that kind of rhetoric is why that video is kind of so popular, was people wanted to know the answer, which unfortunately I didn't really have it in that video. But, talking
I'll tell you. Sorry, go ahead. You finish your point there, Riley.
Yeah, I was just saying that that was one of the things that I brought up in that video was burning gas. And people making those runs, and in these tournaments, I listed these weigh-ins, I listed these guys, and assuming people are telling truth, which you probably shouldn't, but they're, hey, I burned 40 gallons, I burned 50 gallons, I burned 60 gallons during this couple day tournament, and I think there's truth to it, because they're looking for what you're talking about.
It's absolutely true, more so than ever, because weed control is crazy. There are still ways to catch them, and we can go over that and stuff. That's fine. But over these last few years, so for example, when you're looking at most of that like coontail looking stuff under the water, that's Brazilian Elodea. That's an invasive plant. Now, back in the day, even in the middle of the day, if you brought a double buzz over it and you're a foot over the top, you may be able to go out and catch 6 to 8 fish all day. Even if you committed double down, that's all you were throwing, you would still get those bites. Today, this current day, you're not even going to get maybe one bite doing that, possibly 2. And it may be only a 2-pounder. It's very, very different. The deltas progressively got cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. We have more and more sea lions. So predation increases with clarity of the water. So ospreys, otters, all these minks, sea lions, everything that's eating them, it's becoming easier for them. So these bass are so much more scarce in regards to what they're willing to do or what they're willing to commit to. You have to hit the spot perfectly. You have to be in that strike zone just perfectly, which makes it insanely difficult for out-of-towners to do. But I will definitely give you guys some tips on how to get that accomplished. But the bass are way less swingy than they've ever been. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but if you've thrown a chatterbait over the last couple of years, you're probably asking yourself, why the heck are they not eating a chatterbait?
Yeah, that's actually something funny you bring that up. To kind of go on a small tangent with that, I was actually telling a buddy, I have a buddy's name's Joe. He's coming on my boat the last couple of weeks, and he's kind of just starting to really go off the deep end with the whole bass fishing thing. And I was telling him about that kind of. I was like, hey man, this whole chatterbait thing, he keeps telling me he's buying his chatterbaits. We're out there throwing them, and he's kind of wondering like, hey, what's the deal with this? And I told him, I was like, you know what, man, I really don't know, but what I can tell you is that this chatterbait that I have in my box right now, it's like this, what is it, Bites Delight chatterbait color. I'm like, I've probably caught like 300 or 400 fish on this bait alone. Like,
oh yeah.
And I'm like, I was trying to tell him, I'm like, I can't tell you how many fish you could catch in a day on this bait. Like, it was so ridiculous. And I told him, I was like, it just isn't happening anymore for me. I still catch good ones on it. I still catch fish, but
you will.
It was like insane how many fish you'd catch on a chatterbait. It wasn't even funny.
Mm-hmm. That was less predation, more vegetation. The water wasn't quite as clean. And that makes a massive difference when throwing a vibrating jig. It's a wild thing out there, and it has nothing. And you're going to hear constantly, it's boat pressure. They've seen it 1,000 times. I'll tell you what, that does apply, but that's on rare occasion. I'm talking if you have back-to-back 500 boat freaking tournaments, 3-4 days in a row, then yes, it applies. But if there's a week off in between, no, it doesn't apply. I manage a fishery. Trust me, I've studied bass with the best biologists and scientists out there. That is not the case. It's not that they've seen it 1,000 times. It's their environment.
And it's one that's, like you said, changing on a daily basis.
People talk about like Lake Okeechobee. If you guys watch Bassmasters or MLF, they'll talk about it changes every year. You might as well throw away all your weight points. It throws away every year. That is the Delta. The Delta changes every year. And yeah, when you watch me posting on my Instagram, my Facebook and stuff, I'm cracking them, but I'm putting in a lot of work to get these bites, to find these bites, to dial in these patterns. And it's not coming easy, guys. I am putting in the work to find these things. It's not historical data. I'll tell you right now. I got one area I'm fishing that I maybe fished 2 years ago. Everything else I'm fishing is brand new. And I've got nearly 40 years experience on that river. So think about that. In regards to finding spots, Riley, you probably got as much experience in finding spots right now as I do. And that's kind of wild to think about, but it's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And like one of the things we touched on that other video, maybe we can talk about for a second and see if you subscribe to this theory or not. More of an observation I made is the distances in which people were willing to travel to find fish, but more specifically, like going to the far reaches of the Delta, whether they're running ridiculously far down south, ridiculously far up north, like they're just going so far away from everything. People are taking like these almost risks to like get out to these deeper, further and further spots. And the thing that I kind of was theorizing in my videos, I'm like, hey, are they not taking the time to go spray up there? Are the seals not there yet? Have they not made it to that end of the area? Or is that more of just a coincidence that I've been hearing that more and more?
No, it's your first statement. It's that they're less likely to spray there the farther you get away from everything. The more inconvenient it is for them, makes it more reliable for us. For example, I won't paint any spots out directly. I don't want to piss anybody off here, but if there's a 10-minute idle through a marina, I will do it. No problem. If there's a 20-minute idle, I will do it. Just because, like you said, it's going to eliminate 90% of the crowd. And the vast majority of the people do not want to do that, especially if you're out, like you get a couple days, a month to go fish. I get that. I understand that. You just want to fish. But in regards to the Delta, if you're not seeing the life there and it don't look right, don't even cast. I will rarely make a cast if I don't see bluegills, shiners, duckweed, healthy primrose, a little bit of current, backwater, an eddy off that current. Like I have to see encourageable targets. Otherwise, I will just keep driving.
Yeah, I think that was a kind of a problem me and my buddy ran into. You know, we ran up north the other day, and it was. I mean, I think you were out too on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. It was blowing out there. I mean, it was insane how windy it was. I was looking over and I said, "Hey, man, I think that's why they put those windmills over there. I think that means we're not supposed to be over here right now because of how bad we're getting blown around." But that was something I was telling him was we were burning all this fuel, and he's like, mm-hmm. "Hey, man, like, what are we doing right now?" And I said, "Dude, like, look at the bank. Like, you see all that mm-hmm. stuff's dead. You see how there's just the water's all weird, everything's all slimy and gross. Like, there's mm-hmm. nothing here. There's nothing here.
Yep.
Like, we have to just keep looking." And that was pretty much the testament of the day. Was we just kept looking, and I mean, we really didn't find what we were looking for. But I kept telling myself, I'm like, hey, I mean, I'd rather just keep looking than just sit here and be annoyed that I'm fishing slop, you know, when I could be finding something that looks good. And I think that's a real thing right now.
You know what's funny? I'm going to give you guys all a tip right now that most people are not even thinking about, and what is working now on the Delta better than it ever has. Isolated target. It used to be a lake thing. On the Delta, it wasn't about isolated target. It was about finding the right grass line.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right. It's a remix. Let me think about how I could sing about isolated targets with that. No, it's if you see a post, a piling, a metal bar sticking up in a slough right now, especially if everything's dead, they gravitate out to anything healthy or anything that has more current on it. So I will straight up tell you something really funny that happened on Monday, and I'm not even going to post about this. So there's ski clubs, okay? You ever drove through a ski club and you see the buoys?
Yep.
The cables that go down on the buoys?
Yep.
They sprayed the crap out of the ski club like a month ago. Okay, so I'm in there on Monday. I see all clean Elodea growing off the cables because they have not been using the ski club. I was throwing a frog in 9 feet of water next to the ski buoys, and I caught one on, I think it was like 6 out of 12 of them.
Oh, man.
Yes, and I started laughing to myself because I have never even tried it before. And it just clicked, right? It clicked in my head like, dude, of course they're on these. Of course they're on these. Why did I not even think about that? I just got away from the bank. I said, it looks like crap. I used to catch them here all the time. And then I'm like, well, that looks clean. And I just fired a cast. It was me getting away from the bank and just out in the channel because I was about to pull the trolling motor and head out of there. And there was fish all over them. My buddy threw a drop shot right behind me. Bam, bam, was batting cleanup. You know, there's only so many ski club guys. So whoever, if you guys get to it first that's listening to this, congratulations.
Oh yeah, I mean, speaking of kind of like oddball bites, I think that might be kind of a fun segue. So something that I talked about, and I personally haven't flushed it out to its like maximum at all, but I'd be curious to see what you think is, you know, I pretty much fish Folsom and the Delta. Those are my 2 spots. I live in Folsom, so you know I'm there when it's convenient. I go to the Delta when I can, and something that I've always found interesting is a lot of these Delta guys make really good fishermen at a lot of other places because I feel like they're kind of willing to go out on limbs and stay committed to what they're doing. But
because we run more water,
100%. And kind of where I was going with that though is that I've kind of done some lake things on the Delta, like specifically talking about fishing a little deeper, kind of fishing maybe like offshore, if I even want to say that, you know, like not really like, you know, fishing the bank specifically. And I think what you're talking about is kind of interesting. I mean, I've caught multiple fish on the Delta in 25 feet of water, which,
me too.
Which is very, not something I do all the time, but something that has happened. And I think that's something that kind of, I don't know, when it comes to like almost the final frontier of bass fishing, which we've seen, especially with, you know, forward-facing sonar and different things. Like, I think people forget on the Delta, they get so sucked into like, hey, I want to look at these toolies, I want to look at these laydowns. Like, there are legitimately fish, just like anywhere else, any other lake, that will sit on the ends of points and deep docks and all kinds of stuff. A lot of
people think because the current's rolling that they're not down there. Like they need to get on a current break. And yes, that does apply a lot of the time. But I've seen 5 and 6 pounders in 8 foot of water that was gin clear and that current was blasting and they're just sitting right there on the bottom just fine. So don't rule it out. Like Riley said, there is fish down there, 100%. And I'll give you a little backstory. When I first started fishing with Andy Cuccia back in the day, so Cooch, the first couple spots we went to, first spot was 22 feet. And this was a long, long time ago. And I had never caught a fish deeper than like 18 feet on the Delta at that time. I didn't really try it, like you said, you know. And Andy's like, yeah, just drop your jig all the way down there. We're gonna do a slow hop and pop because it's clean down there. And did it, got a 5 pounder, 4 pounder, back to back cast. And I'm like, whoa, okay. And now I looked at deep waters, deep holes, completely different at that point. And that was one thing, like you said, man, that he had in his pocket. He was a really good deep water fisherman, so he didn't necessarily have to chase tides around. He found fish that would just live there.
Yeah. I mean, something I want to bring up now that we're kind of talking about the clean bottom and stuff. That was one of the concepts, and something I've talked about on my channel or whatever is I called it hard bottom hogs, you know. And I think some of the craziest things I've ever seen on the Delta, something I really haven't seen lately, unfortunately, was you know, being out in some of the ponds or some of these offshore spots, and all of a sudden I'd find this hole, this tan spot, you know, out in 5, 6, 7 feet of water. And, you know, I call my uncle, he's more my cousin, but I have this, my Uncle Todd, and he told me, he's like, Riley, you need to listen to me. He's like, if you ever find one of those holes, you pay attention, because you're going to see things that swim around in the bottom of that you've never seen before in your entire life. And some of these holes, I mean, I swear to God, you look down and you're like, oh my God, like these are, it's like giants sitting in the bottom of these holes. And I think it's that kind of, what you said earlier, that isolated target. You know, you're in the middle of this expansive grass flat, and then you finally find that hard bottom spot, and they're all just sitting in there,
my God,
hanging out.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's really one of those things. And I'll tell you guys, one of the bites that I'm on right now for flipping with a 3/4 ounce setup, punch skirt, flapping hog, the normal flipping setup. I'm looking at large, expansive 5 and 6 foot deep grass flats. And when I mean a grass flat, I'm talking about Eladia flats. Big, big, big ones. And I'm raising my trolling motor up to where these things are touching my big motor. I'm raising my big motor up. Like Eladia is rubbing the boat. And I'm going to find holes and pockets in those holes. And exactly like Riley said, you'll see them off in the distance, and I'm flipping those as well. And there is a good flip bite if you find those holes, those pockets, because it's just like a hotel built in the middle of chaos. And everything's in there. There's a million hiding places, but they like them. When it's 5, 6 foot deep, even when the sun's straight overhead, they just kind of move up to the edge, the wall of it, and stay in the shade. Once the sun's at any angle on those holes, they have a perfect shade hiding pocket. And those things all hold fish. Another thing right now, too, is that what a lot of people forget is anywhere there's matted vegetation, anywhere there's a boat dock, and I've seen this with tons of experienced Delta anglers, and they overlook it. So if you look at your graph, okay, and it says it's 7 feet, but you see grass up to the surface, okay, you're not measuring your bottom depth with what your 2D sonar is showing you. You got to remember that grass, when that grass is not there, if that spot's 6 or 7 foot deep, it's still 6 or 7 foot deep, even if that LOD is all the way to the surface. But if you have anything matted over the top of it, like a dock, you now have a 6 foot clearing of weeds directly under that dock. I'll see people skip under the dock and they won't let their bait get to the bottom, or they won't work it in there slow enough. Because if you skip under there, you're now 6 foot over the top of their head. You may want it to drop down, but it's a gap in the weeds. Any solid cover over the top of those weeds is going to create that hole that Riley was just talking about as well. So if you go into a shallow marina and you see weeds everywhere around these docks, know that there's a hole that goes deep under every dock. So don't neglect the bottom. You skip a whacking worm under there, make sure your line stops on slack before you get that bait out of there.
No, that's a great point. Something just out of curiosity, and I know I was talking about my uncle earlier, and he's told me a lot of stories from the past. I'm curious about what your personal best is on the Delta.
12.4.
12.4. And
yeah,
I know we have no way to know for sure, but I was talking about something the other day, talking about where maybe some of the records are, your likelihood of still catching a double digit on the Delta. What are some of those fish stories you could tell us about, some fish you've seen out there before? Maybe some that have gotten away.
Right off the bat, I have 13 fish on the Delta, double digits. I've only hooked one bigger than my 12.4. And I guarantee you, because I've been in boats where me and Josh Paris, where he's landed 14, 15 pounder, and we're throwing big swimmers out on the lakes. I hooked a frog fish, no joke, probably less than 2 feet of water that was over 15 pounds. And I lost it because I got so excited. I pulled her into a primrose mat. Then my trolling motor was flapping the mud. And it was an old beat up trolling motor at the time. I couldn't get close. So then I tried to horse her, and I bent the hooks out on an old school spro frog.
Moment of silence.
And I pulled that fish off. And the weird part is I didn't freak out. I wasn't cussing a ton. And I do that all the time if I lose a big one. Don't get me wrong. I'm no saint. Man, I was in shock. I was in shock. Then I was dumbfounded, like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That one, like a month later, I felt sick.
Finally hit you.
Finally hit me. And if you guys go back on that really, really old swim bait episode I shot with Joe Bruce on New Maloney's, after we shut the cameras off the end of that day, I hooked another one. Wasn't nearly as big as that big teener I lost on the frog, but I had foul hooked her with a stupid S waver in the side of her head when she had slashed at it. And that was a 13, 14 pound fish that I couldn't get my hands on. Joe was trying to get her hands on her and she finally popped off. But those are the two biggest I've ever hooked. And I lost both of those, dang it.
Yeah, I mean, a little note I have written down for anyone listening right now. Some of my top videos that Nick's been a part of, I've watched repeatedly. One of them was a Skype with Paul Bailey, Matt Newman, Josh Paris, if you remember that one.
Oh, yeah.
I've watched that thing like 10 times. All the videos with Cooch are gold.
Oh, yeah.
And then I have that one with Joe Bruce. I think that one's a little slept on. That guy gives up some crazy stuff in that video.
Oh, Bruiser, man.
Oh,
and
man.
like what people don't realize is Joe Bruce in the Mother Lode Lakes. What that guy was pulling off, when people watch those Butch Brown videos when he's in those perk ponds, okay, on the electric boat and stuff, Joe Bruce was doing this on public water in tournaments, catching. He caught a 48-pound bag in a tournament. No joke, guys. And he caught a 46-pound bag in a tournament. Insane. On New Melones, public water, in a tournament, on spots that get hit all the time. So when people say, who's the best in-tournament big swim bait guy you've ever fished with? There's 4 of them that come to mind for me. That's Joe Bruce. Joe Bruce he hardly ever even fishes anymore. He loved dirt biking and stuff. Paul Bailey, Josh Paris, Matt Newman. Those are the 3 best big swim bait guys, in my opinion, because they did it under pressure on public water in the moment. Now, there's a very different style when you ask me who's like the best trophy hunter with big swim bait. So then you start getting into your guys like Butch, you know. But when you say best swim bait angler, that's when money's on the line, pressure's on the line, everything counts. And you get it done when there's 100 other boats out there. I think the biggest difference in that, I think that like 47 something is like right at 48 pounds that Joe Bruce had at one time. I think there was like a 22-pound difference to second place. Yeah, and it's things like that, man.
Yeah, I mean, that makes me think of like the one thing that pops in my head is when Alex Niapis caught I don't know, had 30 pounds on Shasta or whatever with a 13 and an 8.5-pound spot or whatever. And like, I mean, like to you said, like, I mean, it's not 48 pounds, but he had a 20-pound lead on everybody at Shasta.
Like what Alex Niapis pulled off at Shasta was just incredible, man. And Alex, he was doing something that I refer to as fish tanking, okay? Because I have to do tank seminars all the time. I do it at ICAST, I do it at Bassmasters, all that stuff, okay? I'm up there talking, doing seminars all the time. And if I'm talking about a big swim bait, if I throw it 50 times through the same fish, one of them swings. And it's what I call fish tanking. It's a spot where you see trout swimming around a patch of trees. You know there's big fish there. They didn't bite the first 30 times. You sit there for 2 hours and keep throwing. And believe it or not, how horrible this sounds, that actually works. And it is the dumbest freaking thing. And it drives me crazy because I've done it.
Yeah, I mean, I think about something interesting about yourself is I feel like you kind of do a little bit of everything. Like kind of we're talking about the swim bait thing right now. Like you have legit swim bait content out here. You got you're getting down and dirty on the Delta. You kind of dabble in a little bit of all that. I don't know if you'd even consider yourself like, you know, we have like these guys that are swim bait fishermen or they're like this or that. Like you kind of do a little bit of everything.
You know, what's funny, Riley, is like when you say that, and I hear guys call themselves swim baiters or swim bait anglers, and I've had these same guys that are like popular ask me, hey, how many fish do you think you've boated over 5 on a glide? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's because it doesn't matter to me. Thousands, multiple thousands. I have no idea. I've had days back in the day before even people knew about swim baits where we were catching 40 to 60 4+ pounders a day. And it's like that stuff really didn't matter. I love doing everything so much. Like, I love skipping. A lot of people know me as that skipping guy, you know, because I made it popular. But like throwing big swim baits, doing frog stuff, like that's my thing. Punching, swim baits, frogging, and skipping. If I had to say I have a thing, those are my thing. But I guess when I was averaging all those 25+ pound bags doing my finesse worm trick on the sticks #1 all January and February, I guess finesse wacky rigging was my thing.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like, I think it's, people kind of box themselves into these like specific categories, especially with the swim bait thing. But I think, I think this is probably true for yourself, but you just like to catch big fish.
Yeah.
And you're going to throw what it takes.
What's crazy is, like, when I talk to, a lot of my buddies and stuff, like my hardcore tournament buddies, and I ask them, what most people don't realize is, like, I think they get caught up in the YouTube thing with Josh Jones and Oliver and everybody, like, saying, oh, I got, 50 fish over 10 pounds. And a lot of these people hear that when they're watching YouTube and stuff. But what you guys don't realize is 98% of the guys on the MLF tour have never caught a bass over 10 pounds. Do you know that?
No, that's crazy.
It is crazy. And I think it makes it more relatable. Honestly, people need to hear that. Because, hey, it's not that common, guys. Granted, I live in Northern California. I'm fortunate enough to fish on lakes where they stock kokanee and stock trout. I grew up fishing the California Delta. It's exceptional. It is exceptional for having higher odds at catching big ones. And I don't have a teener to my name. And I've been full-time at this 18 years. So you need to understand, like, that is it. So don't ever think like, hey, don't downplay a 10 pounder just because you've seen it on the internet or someone caught it at Ivy, in Texas. Like, don't downplay it, guys, because if you catch a 5 or 6 pounder anywhere, it's an amazing fish. Very, very few fish grow over 6 or 7 pounds. Very few. So if you got one of those, be stoked. Don't think you need to be the guy that's holding up multiple teeners, because that's just unlikely. It's very unlikely, unless you're going to that exotic destination to get it done on something that's guaranteed. There was people paying, I think Josh was getting like $3,000 to $4,000 a trip just to put people on those fish at Ivy.
That's crazy.
And it's bonkers. Like, and people were paying that.
Yeah.
And that for me, that's the same thing of like the old rich businessman going out and catching a 700-pound blue marlin where the crew knows where they are at. The crew lowers the bait. The crew brings the fish in. You stand there and pose with it.
Yep. Or the guy that goes out and shoots a lion out in Africa, and you're like, what? What?
Yeah, I got an elephant.
You're like, I thought elephants were nice, man.
Yeah, and it's like, don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on that. It's just not the accomplishment. You should be proud. Like, if you get out there, I don't care if you got a beater little boat, you get out there, that's all you can afford is some, a little 50 on the back, you put out there and you get it done and you catch a 4-pounder. Don't feel like it's an under accomplishment. Don't look at what all these people are doing. Everybody is on their own ride. The only person you're competing with is you. And it's all about fun. Don't get caught up in this rat race of thinking you need to go catch 50 10-pounders to be somebody. You're going to have people that are going to like your post. They're not your friends. They weren't the one having fun that day. Don't think you need to look hard in a photo to try to be cool to somebody else. Smile. Enjoy it, man. We get one shot at this life. If you are not out there having a good ass time, then stop doing it.
Yeah, doing it for the wrong reason. I know a couple buddies I have that were big big in the tournament scene, and kind
Mm-hmm.
of got a little burnout, kind of for exactly what you said is they got so stressed about this and that they started asking themselves like, what am I even doing out here? Like, do I even
Oh yeah.
care about catching the fish anymore? Like, am I even having fun, or am I just pulling
Oh
my hair
yeah.
out now?
Yeah, I fish with a lot of guys, Riley. I fish with guys that we were getting ready to shoot a show with. And these were guys when we were out like pre-fishing for a show that would catch like a 4-pounder, and they're like, ugh, like, and I'm like, and they acted like irritated by it. And I said, you know what? I don't even want to shoot the show. I don't want to shoot it. I love fishing, man. I'm cool. I catch a 3-pounder. Sure, I'll show it. Sure, whatever. Granted, I do catch a lot of big fish, but I put in the work. Like people that act like it doesn't matter. They don't care. They would rather try to look cool to the audience. That doesn't matter to me. And the older you get, the less it matters. And nobody cares, man. Nobody really cares. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm pro staff this, I'm pro staff that. And they stick 100 stickers on their boat. Man, I don't care. Nobody really cares. Don't be cool. Just have fun and love the game we all love, man. That, it just drives me crazy. So I'll tell you, I'll go back into this. When you were asking me before this call, me and Riley were talking, guys, and he said, I don't really see you fishing like the tournament scene anymore. And I used to. Don't get me wrong. Back in the day, I used to. I won a couple Stockton bass back to back. And that was fun, man. That was good stuff. I won a Wednesday nighter, and I think I finished second in another one. But the problem is people seeing that I was making video content, and they're like, oh, you're just taking everybody else's spots and you're sandbagging our water. And I'm just like, man, I don't need that. And then I caught grief from other people saying, oh, you get to fish every day of the week coming into this. You're worse than a guide. You get to pre-fish every day. We can't do this. I didn't need that. I get paid from the sponsors and ad revenue from different videos and things like that. So I didn't want that in my life. And like you said, it was coming with a negative vibe to it. Like there was a lot of negativity entering the game that I loved. And for me, it's always about figuring it out, catching the best 5 bag I can on my own. It doesn't matter if there's a tournament or not. If I was literally taking time out to sandbag a Wednesday nighter tournament, it's going to cost me more money from not doing my job for these sponsors than it would be to pre-fish the thing. So it's like, it does me, there's zero benefit. And I love tournament fishing. I do, man. I'm a hyper competitive person. I'm competing against me every day I'm out there, guys. I always want to do better than I did the last time, or I want to prove, I want to figure out a better pattern or refine my pattern. So I've changed that competitive nature to compete with myself, and doing content. And when I put together a talking point video, this is something I've been dialed in on for years. And I'm really, really trying to think and articulate it the best way. And people go, oh, you're overcomplicating the subject. And I said, no, what I'm doing is I'm giving you the information that I've overcomplicated for myself for you to take whatever you can from it to improve your game. Yes, I'm overcomplicating it for me, nobody else, because you take what you take.
Yeah, I think you're definitely one of those guys that I think it's good. You like to break down every aspect of the different things that you're doing, whether it's the size of your line, your rod, your weights. I mean, I think the more things that you can control and the more things that you pick up on, I think that's going to be better in the long run because it really comes down to that refinement and really dialing in specifically what you want to do.
It's crazy. So if you guys go back and look at my Instagram or my TikTok, you'll see a bunch of those tanks I was posting where I was throwing that light spinning rod, the Sticks number 1, the finesse stick. And this is crazy. So I signed with Berkeley in January. So I'm using like spider wire and any like Berkeley tri-line lines. I'm talking about fishing line here, just so you're aware. And I thought the line they had called Forward was made for forward-facing sonar. And what it was is a new type of line that they couldn't even really give a name to because nobody would understand what the heck it is. It's fused line. So we all hear about mono, copolymers, fluorocarbons, braids, right?
Yep.
You ever heard of fused line, Riley?
No.
Right? Either have I until I picked it up. I talked with Chris, the designer, and I put it on my number one. I put, I think it's 14 as my backer. And of course I run a leader. All right. So I was sight fishing, throwing at roaming fish. This is pre-spawn fish that are up, staging, roaming around that I can see from a distance. I put this stuff on and I'm like, it's weird. It didn't absorb water, but I'm casting like 30 feet farther every single time. I'm never getting any tip wrap. I'm never getting any wind knots, but it felt weird. Like, I was like, what the hell is this? So I go back and I talk to Chris and he's like, it's the same stuff. It's like Spectra. It is the same material as braid, but braid is like braiding someone's hair. Okay. That's the texture of it. That's the wrap. So when you hear it coming through the guides, it's textured. It's like if you imagine someone with a ponytail running through a guide with some angle on it, you're going to hear tick, 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 because it's braided. This is the same stuff, but it's actually fused together to where it's one solid line. So It's like braid that's not braided. It's like glued together. And I was like, oh my God. Once I started to break the line in, like 6 trips in, I realized like it kept casting farther and farther. And I was picking these fish off from long range. Go watch the video. I posted all the videos. And I was doing it with a trick worm and a size 2 wacky hook and just a regular 6-inch zoom trick worm, dude. I'm throwing this thing like 80 to 100 feet, no problem.
Guy's a sniper.
Weightless, dude, weightless. And these things are just roaming out there, and it's just falling slow as hell. And just whoop, they're sucking it up. And dude, I think I had 2 bags this spring over 30 pounds, like looking right at them, cruising in the distance. And it was, dude, nobody was doing that, bro. Nobody. And so I mentioned it to Paris, and he's like, all right. And he started doing it. And then I showed my buddy, we went to the Moke River, and then we went back over to LBC. Dude, we're doing it everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are some of the hardest fish to catch.
They are, dude. I've kind of like perfected catching those dang things. I could probably catch 1 out of 3. Like, that's how high the numbers are, which is bonkers. But anyhow, that was just something new. That was like a line thing that I had figured out by accident, which he was trying to tell me, but I really wasn't listening.
That's how this stuff is sometimes, you know. Guys try to throw you a bone and you don't want to hear it, and then you pick it up yourself, you call them back, you're like, hey, man, I found this really cool thing. They're like, hey, I literally told you about that. What are you talking about?
That brings me to this point. We were talking about this. How many of your audience members have heard of the Savage Gear Tough Toad? Is the real question.
Yeah, I kind of was letting it slip a couple videos ago, so maybe a couple more people, but it's still under wraps a little bit. This guy wants to talk about it. I want to keep it hush, you know.
Yeah, I get it. If you're a tournament fisherman, I get it, bro. So I'll tell you guys, it's been through 2.5 years, maybe closer to 3, since I first designed the Savage Gear Tough Toad with Jose Chavez and Mads Grazel. So that was our toad bait. It's made out of TPE. We call it Tough Tech material because TPE is a formulation of plastics. It's a compression mold type of plastic, very durable. It's those plastics that melt your other lures if you leave them on it. Okay, remember like the Ned rigs from Z-Man, how they would melt your other lures?
Yep.
Same type of material, but the formulation is unique to each company. That's why they give it a unique name, like Elastec for Z-Man, Tough Tech for Savage Gear, because we can get more details in our formulation. So that's why they give it unique names. But it ultimately falls under Plastomere, TPE, guys. And normal soft plastic lures that don't do that are PVC. Just so if you're ever aware, if I ever use any technical terminology, boom, there it is. So anyhow, we made a toad version, Jose and I, back in the day, and I was designing this thing to skip crazy good, be crazy durable, and originally it was called the Duratech Toad. We made a version 2, which is now called the Tough Toad, which is even more improved, and we just came out with the Tough Frog, which is that Tough Tech material with a frog with skirted legs that I designed for walking to completely replace hollow body frogs. It casts farther, It lasts easy 30, 40 fish. It skips better than any hollow body frog. Your hookup ratio is literally probably 90+%. They do not drop the thing. I've got countless videos of them swimming with it and me not setting the hook, where I'm like, please don't swallow the damn thing. Please don't swallow the damn. I don't want to kill a bass on video. They don't drop it. They don't drop it. It's ridiculous. And they're coming 2 per package, pre-rigged, that we already have a custom hook put in them, and they're like $8 for 2. It's stupid good. We have the XL version coming for those as well in the Tough Toad. This is news for you, Riley.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger. If this is a video, I'd show you. It's right here in front of me. And we have the XL version in the walking coming as well. So you'll have the 2 regular size in the toad and the frog, and the XL size in both as well.
Yeah, I mean, kind of talking about that, a frog, for anyone listening, I was watching his, Instagram and stuff earlier in the year, and I was like, that thing looks pretty interesting. I bought a package of them, and my personal experience with that bait, biggest things that I've noticed for it are, number one, I can get it where I can't get anything else. It skips like ridiculous. Like it's like a rock. Like I'm not like a skipping guy at all. Like I can cast for sure, but I was making casts where like the first day I took it out, I was like laughing out loud because I was like,
you're like, oh my god, I'm a freak.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, I'm like the greatest thing alive. And then I go to skip like a jig after, and I bird's nest my reel in 2 seconds. Like if you guys aren't like dialed in at casting, like you can skip this frog. Like you can suck and you can skip this thing. It's ridiculous. And then the other thing I noticed too, and what he's talking about is, I don't know why, but even on like duckweed or like different mats or whatever, like they just like consume this frog differently. It's not like a hollow body where they come up and they like go to grab it and half the time it like flies in the air. Like it kind of sits like lower in the water, and I feel like it like lets them get it more.
So think about this. A hollow body's hollow, right? It's got air. You ever try to push a basketball or a volleyball under a swimming pool?
Yeah. Doesn't work.
Resistance. So when a bass comes up on your lure, they don't just come over the top of it and eat it. They suck it in while they come over the top and eat it. A bass has a dual function. They suck that mass around what they're preying on through. So they suck the water through their gill plates and then collapse over the prey. So this is the function of the bass's bite. So when a bass comes up on a hollow body frog, your hollow body frog is not neutral. This is why if you watch some of my old Clear Lake videos, I actually wrap solder around the back of my hooks, my frog hooks, to create that hollow body to actually be a little bit more neutrally buoyant. This is why I did that way back in the day. So it would drop to the bass easier. This is why you miss so many hook sets with a hollow body. It's not necessarily your timing always. There is things, and I have videos for that over the years showing how to get a higher hookup ratio. But with this TPE material, it's very neutrally buoyant. It's just like the buoyancy of a frog. So when they go to suck that in, the backwards travel is much easier than a hollow body frog. And that's why you're getting such incredibly high hookup ratios.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think in like one of my last videos, I've caught big ones on the tough doe, but I noticed I kept hooking up on really small fish, and I was so surprised. I was like, how am I hooking these things? And I think it's just like you said, they're able to suck it under, even though they're small. They're still getting it all the way under, and they eat it. It kind of reminds me of like a Senko. Like when they suck that frog in, like they don't seem to care. Like they're like chewing around on it down there or something weird.
Yeah, they don't let it go. I think it's like the sponginess of that material or something that they love. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's really, really crazy. And I've actually talked about it in a couple clips just randomly. Like I asked a couple of my buddies that I turned the tough toad onto back in the day. I'm like, when's the last time you thrown a hollow body frog? The day before you showed me this toad. And that was it, dude. They've never turned back. And I've turned, I don't want to say names, but I've turned a ton of MLF guys onto this bait and gave them personal skipping lessons and stuff over the last couple of years. And now with the inception of the Tough Frog, the walking version, dude, it's bonkers. The walking version, no joke. So I was measuring with 65-pound braid, no wind. I am throwing the tough frog, that's the walking, the skirted legs, 118 feet on average when I try to make a long cast. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Okay?
I mean it's a rock basically.
It's going. It is going, man. It does outcast the tough toad, which has the kicking feet, but the tough toad skips slightly better than the tough frog. So if you're trying to walk a bait in place, if the fish are a little bit deeper, or if you're trying to draw them up out of timber, or you skip back under a tree and you want to walk it in place, the tough frog is going to be your jam. But if you need to skip under heavy cover, or you're casting and reeling like a buzz bait, like a traditional toad, the tough toad's still my jam. So now Riley, I literally have a tough toad tied on. I have a tough frog tied on. And I typically have one of the XLs on as well, because in thick like cheese, the XL tough toad's freaking ridiculous.
Man, yeah, I think like what you were saying, maybe we can talk about some frog stuff for a second. So I've kind of made and it has a lot to do with the tough toad, honestly, but I had this weird lull for I don't know, it was probably like a year, 2 years where I just stopped throwing the frog. I was kind of done with it. I think I just was kind of rage quitting from losing a lot of fish. And I was watching your videos, and it's kind of getting me hyped again to go out and throw it. And talking about the frog specifically, I think historically I was a big worker. I was always walking it in. I was always burning in the buzz frog or doing whatever. And something that I kind of was picking up from watching some of Bobby Barrick's videos was him talking about, hey, if you think a fish is there, you need to put the frog exactly where the fish is. And you're just going to leave it there, let him stare at it, and then, burp it that one time and get a fish. And that's something that, even though maybe it wasn't intentionally designed for it, I've been doing with the tough toad. I've noticed is I'll skip it into that crazy spot, and I'll leave it, and I'll just give it. It's almost like a prop bait. I give it that little blah, 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 and then I just boom, and then it just gets inhaled.
Dude, people don't realize. I think they think I'm blowing smoke when I say I catch over 3,000 frogfish a year. I take my dog on a lap every morning, so I stay sharp on my skipping, whether I'm skipping a tough toad or I'm skipping the big bite BSE I designed for him. I skip one lap every single morning, even on the days I'm editing. So I keep highly tuned. I literally got 200 hollow bodies right here, 200 plus hollow bodies that I got to give to some high school bass teams or donate them or whatever, because I'm never going to throw them again. I've got hollow bodies I designed for companies, you guys. I got them right here in front of my face. I'm never going to throw them again. I may shadow box a couple of the ones I designed because it's kind of cool. It's memories. The technology didn't exist in the past. So, of course, hollow body is the originator, of my frog fishing, and it's historic. And maybe in the future, I'll just fish it for the sake of it being historic. But it's not for practicality. There's no way in hell. Sorry, guys, but there's no way in hell you can go on the same boat with me with a frog, any hollow body, and have a chance at outfishing me with a tough toad or a tough frog. There's just zero chance. You have zero chance. And I'll tell you, I don't care who it is. I know Fred Rembrandis. I know Bobby Barrett personally. I know they're both friends. They know this. They know there's no chance. And these guys I'm teaching on tour and stuff, they know. They know there's no chance. But the reality is that's not a bait or a company that they're sponsored by, so they're going to keep it on the DL. And if you're hanging around with a bunch of competitive bass fishermen that figure this out for themselves, they're going to keep it on the DL. They want to win. They want to get that higher hookup ratio. But it's ridiculous. That's really how innovative this frog and toad are in regards to topwater frog fishing. You're talking to a guy that probably has, I don't even know how many tens of thousands of hollow body frogfish I've caught. I'm straight up telling you, there is no chance that I'm going back. None.
He's converted.
I'm converted, man.
So I have.
I'm trans frogging it.
Oh yeah, he's out there now. Hey, we're in California, man. It's okay. All right.
Yeah, it's all good to be trans frog.
So I have a couple questions written down.
Yeah.
A couple Delta specific questions.
Mhm.
One of the first ones is, and the only reason I even have this in my head is because of one of your videos talking about striper and big giant bass relating to those striper.
Oh, Riley, you are a smart dude.
Because
You
I'm thinking
are
of a
smart
specific
dude.
video where I'm pretty sure you're
You're
throwing
talking
like
about the striper trick.
I think you're throwing like a 9-inch bone shine glide or white
You got
one,
it.
and you
Yeah,
caught a
230 Magnum.
giant largemouth in the center of a bunch of stripers. I never forgot it to this day.
So I will tell you what. The 185 bone shine glide, that's a 7 1/4. You're talking about the 9 1/4 inch, the 230 mm. That's the Magnum shine glide, the one you've seen right there. My biggest Delta bag is 47 pounds. And that was pulled off on the 185. That's a 7.25 inch original white shine glide. And not white, excuse me, bone. You're correct. And I figured this out by accident about, I don't know, call it 10 years. I don't know to be exact. I was fishing stripers and these yachts kept coming by and I'm like, man, they kept blowing up my bite. And one yacht pushed me to the side to where I was parallel with the riprap. And I'm like, well, I'll just parallel this wall one time, though the stripers are not up here. They're on the outside of this weed line. First cast, I stick like a 7.5 pound largie. And I'm like, whoa, that was interesting. And then I start throwing out on the grass line again. No largies, striper. I let it fall to the bottom. I didn't twitch it at all. Hop off the bottom. Boom, 6-pound largie. And I'm like, okay, something's starting to click in my head. What is going on here? And what I realized is that the largemouth love the activity that the schoolie stripers cause. They love this, okay? But there's a way of understanding where the largemouth is going to position around the stripers. They do not want to be in the middle of stripers. A striped bass is so much faster and so much stronger than any largemouth bass. It's ridiculous. So they don't try to compete with them. They actually sit in the nearest cover or directly below them, and they ambush the juveniles, and then they pick off the wounded bait that the stripers leave over. And one of the easiest ways, and I'm going to expose this, is if you see bait birds, if you see seagulls, you see egrets. If you see the egrets, those are those white cattle egrets that stand on the shoreline ankle deep. Sometimes they're looking in the water or they're standing on the riprap. They're near the bait that the stripers are not actively feeding, and they're getting in the position that the stripers are pushing the bait because they have Udean protein in their eyes. They can see sideways through the water, like really good polarized lenses. If you go cast directly in front of those birds, largies are there. If you get under the stripers along the bottom with like a big weedless swim bait, largies are there. You get in the heaviest grass, whether it's 30 or 40 feet from a striper school, largies are there. The downside, if the stripers push that bait away, you got about 2 minutes to capitalize in that spot from roaming wounded bait, maybe a couple juvenile subsurface stripers, just little baby ones that maybe the largies are eating. But once it stops, that feeding window is done. Bass that are around juvenile stripers in the fall and in the spring or around schoolies, their feeding pattern relies solely on those stripers pushing the bait to them. To where if there's stripers in an area and you're not utilizing them to catch the largemouth, you better get out of there. Because you don't stand a chance, dude. I've watched people zero right next to me while I'm weighing 35, 38 pounds. And they're wondering, dude, what the heck? And there's little tricks and nuances to this. There's certain baits that stripers don't like a popper. If you throw a popper around a weed line, if there's a school of stripers there busting bait, pop it and let it sit. If you walk it, the striper will eat it. But a striper doesn't like something that's sitting still. So popper works remarkably well. White trickworms. Stripers are not going to eat those. The largemouth will eat those. Light colored Senko, like a white Senko, hard to find. Shad colored Senkos, usually your better bet. I prefer white if you can find it, or a bone, or any brighter. Even methylate works. I know that's a funny color if you guys don't know it. But those all work. Anything stripers don't like. A moving bait, they're all about that life. You either get inside the trough, inside the grass, or stay right to the outside of the striper school, stay directly under them. And if the stripers are in that grass, throw the lures that the stripers do not like to eat. And that's slower moving stuff. Even drop shots. You can even drop shot a shad colored bait at that point and catch monsters. One of my buddies 3 years ago, Matt Frazier, I was showing him the striper trick. And we went out and he's like, okay. And they were up in the edge of this weed line. And they didn't want to bite anything. And I threw on a shad colored robo worm. And we sacked 31 or 32 pounds, I forget, but all drop shotting. Right in the middle of striper schools. So yes, Riley, good job paying attention, bro. You're one of probably less than 20 people that have ever even asked me about that.
Yeah, I've been hanging on to that one for a while. I'm not gonna lie.
That's my biggest bag ever, is strictly because of that pattern. I do it all October, November, and December. Every year. Did you watch the last one where I was throwing the pro swimmer on a Titan diver, that BKK Titan diver, or owner, the beast hook with the underspin?
I gotta check that one out.
And I'm throwing the 4.8 pro swimmer. It's just a Kitech style bait. And I'm throwing it in the weed lines around these stripers, but I'm getting it into the weeds before the stripers can get to it. And that same day, I think I sacked another mid 30-pound bag. I posted a bunch of stuff on Instagram. I was trying to be careful so people didn't know exactly where I was, because I already had like 6 or 7 boats following me that day, which makes it really entertaining.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. And I honestly don't mind, as long as you're casting an area where our baits are not meeting one another. I don't mind. It's all good. Just don't run me over. Yeah, if you do see me out there, come up and say hi, guys. I'm cool, man. Just if you see me like dialed in, come up behind me. Don't try to pull up in front of me where I'm casting. But that pattern, bro, I'm telling you, this is where the 50-pound bag mark will be broke. So I told you on that day I caught 47. I seen 2 teeners follow my glide in the same day.
And they're just on that time, that striper time.
And these are fish that I think are never going to strike a lure normally. Believe it or not, that 47-pound bag, I have never stopped and fished any of these areas. I caught those fish ever before. The only reason I did is because there was egrets standing on the shoreline. That's it. All on the main channel. All Stockton Deepwater channel. Biggest bag ever. Spots I've never even stopped to fish before. Crazy, right?
No, that is crazy. And kind of talking about that, I think I've had people ask me, and I'm sure people ask you the same thing, talking about breaking down the Delta, breaking down sections of the Delta, and something that my uncle had told me a long time ago was, he told me, he's like, hey, Riley, this is what I want you to do. He's like, we got the North Delta, the West Delta, East Delta, South Delta, Central Delta. He says,
5 lakes.
Pick an area and fish only there for a year until you figure it out. And he said, I don't want you running all around, chasing all these bites you see on your phone. He's like, just stay put and figure out where the fish are in your particular area. So what I did was I pretty much launched out of B&W, Wimpy's, New Hope Marina, that whole kind of area, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just fished basically Highway 12 and above for an entire year. And, there was points where I got a little bored, but there was also points where I started to find things that I don't think very many people knew about, just little subtle things like, hey, here's this weird little low tide spot. I keep seeing these giant fish everywhere all over the place swimming around, and I've never seen a boat stop here before, and little things like that. And I think kind of my question to you is what you're talking about is I think people get hung up on like, oh my God, last year, like all the big fish are down south. That's the only place people are catching them. Like, I still really think like these fish are all over the place. It's just a matter of finding them.
So there's a couple trains of thought to that. Your uncle's a smart guy, because if you try to learn the Delta by running north, central, south, east, west, you're going to get burnt out, man. This place is too big to do that for trying to learn. Now, the contrary to that is it's the Delta. I call it 5 lakes: northeast, southwest, central. Okay, and the why that's so important is these lakes all fish different. And what Riley's talking about, chasing a bite. So let's say guys are whacking them on a chatterbait and a lipless down south. You're like, oh, that's clearly Tracy Oasis where they're next to. I seen the docks. I recognize the building. Yes, that will fish different than, let's say, Snodgrass Slough, the North Delta. You know, the meadows, you go back there. That is going to fish different than Little Mandeville. It's going to fish different than Mildred. That is also going to fish different than Stockton. That's going to fish different than, you know, all the water over here. It's going to fish different than White Slough. So all these lakes fish different than one another because there's a large amount of water in between them, where a lot of the time the ecosystems are very different. The clarity is different. The temperature's different. So fishing them a year at a time is very smart, because you're going to figure out the nuances to certain areas. You're going to be like, there's this one little pump out on this farmer's field that I pull up and I catch a 3-pounder every time. And if you didn't stop to figure that out or fish it on a slow day, you wouldn't figure out that there's a random rock pile that also happens to be 25 feet behind the boat, and you turn around and you threw a drop shot on it and you caught another 3-pounder. And you just have this random spot that you catch a couple of 3-pound quality fish on when you need them. Because believe it or not, on the Delta, guys, when we're out fishing these tournaments, even if you know what you're doing, 1 or 2 big ones to go along with 3 solids is what you need every time. It's what you need every time. If you catch 5 big ones, you're a freaking stud. Nobody, not even me, is doing that every day. You know, just this last Monday, I dumped 3 fish over 5 pounds. It was just the dumbest luck. I skin hooked 3 fish and dumped them all. The time before that, I went 44 for 44 on the frog. So if I was fishing a tournament and I dumped those 3 big ones, I'd be kicking my own ass. Like, what is going on? And I may need those 2 3-pounders, like Riley was talking about and his uncle was talking about. You figure out those little spots. You figure out those little nuanced deals. But the Delta, there's so many tricks to it. But the one thing I will constantly reiterate, and you've heard me talk about it, was the first time I watched the movie Man on Fire. And he's telling when the hostage dude's got the girl and he goes, I want proof of life. Proof of life. A couple weeks later, I was out fishing somewhere and it was dead as a doornail, man. I started going, I want proof of life. And Paris was looking at me and he's like, the hell are you talking about? I said, proof of life, man. Show me proof of life. And he's like, is that the Man on Fire? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm just buzzing down the bank looking for proof of life. And one thing about the Delta, man, if you get there and you see bluegills, you see shiners, you got proof of life. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you fish there, you're around a percentage of largemouth. Because so much stuff is sprayed nowadays. If you see life, you're on fish. You just got to figure out how to catch them. Whether that's flipping, whether that's a Neko rig, whether that's a chatterbait if the water's stained, whether that's a big top water if you're at low light periods, or whether that's flipping into the grass when the sun's straight overhead, or skipping back under some trees. If you are around that life, they are there. And I'm going to give another tip, because I am going to be doing breaking down a better understanding of the California Delta. I am doing a class where I'm going to have 30 people in person, and I'm going to have a full tutorial of all the slides. how to break down each area, how to break down the types of grass, and that's going to be 150 a head. But that's going to be an 8-hour course with a dinner included. So I'm going to give you an interesting thing to think about. And I want to ask you, Riley, if you've ever thought about this.
All right.
Let's say you're on a 1 foot tide or a minus tide. Let's say you're down half a foot minus tide. What are you looking for?
I'd say that is probably the time period where I'm looking at maybe those holes, or I'm looking at maybe some of those like weird offshore things that you wouldn't otherwise see when the tide is high.
That is a working pattern. Now, let's say you have 2 sloughs on this negative tide. One's a slough that's about 10 foot deep. One slough's only 6 foot deep. How are you gonna target the shallow one?
Probably something with long casts, something more low key, and then the deep one. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
So I'm going to tell you a little trick here.
Yeah.
That you'd probably never thought of. So that shallow slough versus the deep slough, which one's going to have more grass?
The shallow one.
So on high tide, which one's going to spread the fish more? Because there's more hiding spots.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the shallow one. Yeah,
so
more grass underneath you. Yeah.
On high tide in a shallow slough, guys, the fish can be anywhere. They can be in the middle of the slough. They could be 200 feet to your left up against a riprap wall. So there's 2 trains of thought right here. Outer grass lines are phenomenal on extremely low tides on shallow sloughs. If I go to a shallow slough on a high tide, there's only one place I'm targeting. That's a trough. That's the gap between the weed line and the shoreline. That is the difference. On a shallow slough, I'm never fishing the grass line in the middle. Believe it or not, on the low tide, I'm fishing with the boat in the grass line, throwing it out to the deep, bringing it up to where I touch the nearest grass on low tide in those shallow sloughs. You get what I'm saying here?
No, I think I got you.
Now, what it does is it concentrates the population, and what you're going to see, I encourage you to go back and look at a lot of my videos just on Instagram, just catch reels, shorts, things like that. And you will look in the distance and you'll see like 150, 200 feet of weeds between me and the shore. Thick weeds touching the surface. And what that means is low tide. And you're going to notice I'm throwing out the opposite direction. I ain't throwing anywhere near the shoreline. And what it does is it condenses all those fish in those shallow sloughs all the way out on the edge. And this is something I've been doing for years. On real low tide, I go to shallow sloughs and fish that outer edge of grass. If I can find 2.5, 3 feet, and that weed line only sticks in the water by about 6 or 7 feet, all those fish that live in there are in that first 6 and 7 feet of weeds. All of them. You just took the whole population and condensed them. But if you have a deep slough and it drops down, they're most likely still in the exact same positions. That's the difference. On a deep slough, your targets, your post, your trees, your logs that lay down off the side, a little riprap point, those fish will be in the exact same position because they can move vertically. But on low tide, with a shallow slough, they have to move laterally. And that's what makes it fun, fishing condensed populations. So a really low tide is a ton of fun to flip in the summer. Soon as the ultraviolet starts getting lower, like into the low 4s, 3s, sometimes 2 in the fall, that's where those bass will come out of those weed lines and chase your like underspin or jerk baits or glide baits even better. So shallow sloughs, really low tide, October, November. If you guys want to get the delta fish of a lifetime, throw a glide right over the outer edge of that grass on the shallowest sloughs you can find and hang on, because that little juicy trick right there has landed me so many freaks I can't even tell you.
Yeah, so that's funny you bring that up because that was one of the next things I had written down on this my little list here of things to kind of bring up is I've had some mixed results throwing the swim bait. I've been fortunate enough to catch a couple pretty good fish, all on Folsom, and
Nice.
I haven't personally really been able to apply like a lot of my swim bait knowledge to the Delta, other than like with some big wake baits and stuff, where I don't think it's as important. But like to what your point is I've tried to throw some glides out there. I've thrown some soft baits, and I really haven't had the same success because I think a lot of my lake stuff was like, hey, I'm just bombing this over this point or over this tree that I know about or whatever, right? And I guess that's the answer to my question, kind of what you just said, or at least an answer to try.
So there's a secret. There's a secret about the Delta and glide baits. Once that water temperature is over 70, they won't follow. A big one will not follow. Typically, once that water temperature is like 65 and I know the fish are like done with the post-spawn feed, I'm not using a glide bait. So pre-spawn, through spawn, into the post-spawn, once it starts getting north of 65 degrees, you're going to lose water clarity, and the big fish do not like coming up out of the cover unless the shadows are long. So if I am going to use a glide, I could still see at least 3 foot deep, and my shadow's about 3 times the length of my body. That's exceptional. Typically, I'm going to throw a big wake bait instead of a glide, just to try to move a bigger one up and out. But once that water temperature in the fall goes that just below 70, things start popping off. You get that little water clarity back. You get lower ultraviolet. You get a little shorter days. That water's filtered better. That's where your glide excels a lot. Now, if you do want to work a glide bait in the summer and catch them, this is what Riley was talking about. If you have holes, you have to look for sporadic Elodea. So basically, you're driving along, you see a lot of Elodea grass down there, you see hole, and you have to use an ultra slow sinking glide bait, and you have to work it steadily over the top of those holes if you do want to fish it like that in the warmer months. Not really super effective, but you can still get it done. Like I could go put a limit together pretty much every single day on a glide if I want to right now, but I couldn't promise you the limit being, over 15, 16 pounds. So yeah, you could do it. If you want to be the quote unquote Delta swim baiter, you could do it.
And those are more of those like to your point, rather than like drawing a fish out, getting them to eat, those are more of just those little ambush fish that maybe that same fish might hit like a swim jig or something else coming through those holes. You're just choosing to throw the glide more or less.
That's correct. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but spring, fall, all the way in through the first half of December, the glide works really well on Delta largemouth. Yeah, basically March, April, May. I've got away with a week or two in June at times, but usually not. First, second week of October, you start really getting into that correct fall temperature on the Delta where they start chasing again. And what it is, the big largemouth do not like chasing when the ultraviolet is high because it's spotlighting them too much. And they feel much more apt to run down prey once that UV's a little bit lower. And they feel the urgency of eating, up in the fall, stocking up for winter. Same thing, they feel the urgency in the pre-spawn to get ready, prepared for the spawn. Then when the spawn's done, you have active feeding, which is a really good time for basically topwater style glide baits. Get a lot of those fun eats. That's when I was doing a lot of the soft shine glide videos. Cracking those really good. Post spawn's ton of fun to fish a soft shine glide because you can walk it in place over the top of holes.
Yeah, I've been messing with that thing quite a bit actually. I just got one the other day, so that's something
dude, they're on sale at freaking Tackle Warehouse for $10 right now because a couple of bad reviews screwed up the sales.
Yeah. I mean, I got one. I got the golden shiner color one. It looks pretty good to me. So I'm just waiting.
Wait until you got to dedicate a whole day to it. And did you watch the rigging video? Because if the rigging gets twisted up, like the bait doesn't work right.
Okay.
So definitely watch my rigging video on that. It's got to be really, really straight. There's a couple modifications you can do, but dude, I've got this bait. I've got the soft shine glide literally gliding 3.5 feet both directions. It's almost like a 6 foot spread, bro.
Dang.
It's ridiculous. I'll burn it up to a dock and then kill it, and it'll just go so far under a dock that it's like skipping a toad or something under there. I feel the pink. I'm like, oh God. Like, I can't even see it. That bait's so far gone.
Yeah, when it comes to some of those colors, I know, and maybe size too. I know on like Folsom, like I honestly kind of just got to the point where it was like, I'm just throwing like the biggest thing, the biggest trout bait. Like a lot of my stuff's 10.5, 11-inch range now. I don't even really mess with anything too small. And it's all trout. And that's something I've kind of been like, bounced around in my head in the Delta is like choosing those size ranges, and then also like color wise. Like I know we talked about earlier, you throw in a lot of bone, but maybe that's more specific to the striper thing, or if that's just kind of the color you latch onto.
So what it is, when I'm throwing bone, it's because there's a lot of juvenile stripers out there. So their slime coat is highly reflective to bass. Stripers aren't really, largemouth aren't really making out juvenile stripers as chrome. They're seeing them as a disco ball. And bone and white reflect ultraviolet. So it's basically mimicking the flash of a striper. That's all I'm doing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Now you could throw an all chrome bait too, and that'll do something very similar. But if there's cloud cover, ultraviolet's still coming through the clouds, and it'll still show reflective.
Interesting. Yeah, because that's pretty much what you got. Striper eaters, you got gill eaters, and then obviously those shiners get gobbled up quite a bit too. So
yeah. Now if there's if there's no stripers around, man, shiners like in the spring. Oh, dude, I throw the gold a ton. I throw the carp shiner patterns a ton in the spring. Like on my lake, the lake I live on, you're gonna see a bunch of you don't even know about this bait yet. The Shine Glide Pro. There's a new version of the Shine Glide coming out. There you go, guys. You just got exposed to a new one. It's got a new tail. It's got internal swivels, and it's slightly slower rate of fall. I've been murking them on the golden shiner / carp pattern because we have a ton of juvenile carp in my lake that the big largies eat. So that's been out fishing everything. But yeah, no, it's about matching the hatch for sure. And it's funny. You see all these guys. Me and Ben Milliken used to talk all the time back in the day, and he was like, "Oh, the glide bait thing doesn't work out here." And then all these other dudes telling me for years, "Oh, the glide bait thing doesn't work out here." I'm like, "Yeah, it does. You just can't see the fish because your water's not clean enough." And as soon as forward-facing sonar came out, hey, glide baits work everywhere across the country now.
Oh my gosh!
Because now you can see them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one of my last questions for you tonight that I've always kind of thought about, nothing too deep, but just your choice to run an aluminum boat.
Man, cost, not stressing out. So there's a couple things. So up to 150 horsepower, you can run an aluminum prop. Okay, aluminum prop basically has gone over 150 horsepower. That's where you need your stainless steel. Okay, so lower ends, if you hit something with your prop, you can trash your lower end. Versus 150 horsepower and down, you can run an aluminum prop. You hit something, your lower end's typically not trashed. Your rod's not bent. You can replace your prop. It's way cheaper. I can run around with my 19.5 foot aluminum all day on the Delta, all day, sun up, sun down for $40. And that's with my 115. I'm actually switching it out to a 150 soon. But I've been running around on a 115, and my boat still does 48 miles an hour. Plenty fast enough. I've been dejected out of boats twice. Doing almost 50 miles an hour is fine. Okay? Totally fine. You get wherever you want at 50. The cost of that is so much cheaper. I can put my boat anywhere shallow. I can bump into logs. I occasionally bump a rock. I'm good. I don't have to worry about breaking gel coat. I'm not concerned cost-wise. So much cheaper, bro. And the advancements in aluminum boats, they're so much more stable. I can basically fish any boat I want. I can call pretty much any boat dealership, and I can get dealer cost or get hooked up to where they sell it at the end of the year for me for any glass boat. I don't want to do that. I worked for Crestliner back in the day. They were paying me to run their boat, but I fell in love with freaking aluminums, man. The whole shot, just so much faster, hopping up quick, getting out there quick. I love it, man. Yes, on big water like Clear Lake on a windy day, a glass boat has the advantage. It's much more stable, much smoother in regards to big waves. But I still do totally fine. Just the cost. If you fish every day like I do, man, you don't want it being $150. You don't want a $200 expense on your hands that day. If you're on the water enough like I do, you're gonna hit props. You're gonna screw up your lower unit. You're gonna rip skags off. You're gonna run into a lot of stuff. Aluminum saves you from that trouble. Aluminum prop saves you from that trouble. Like if I ran a bigger glass boat, just my cost yearly to get to the same stuff I'm going to fish would probably be double or triple, man. That's excluding the boat payment, if I were to buy one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the place that I'm kind of at right now. I have a glass boat. My uncle's old boat, actually, because he just does PG&E stuff now instead of fish. But that's a dig if you're listening to this. And yeah, I think that's something I've been thinking about is whenever this thing finally goes and it's time to buy something new, I've really been just considering an aluminum, especially fishing the Delta. I don't know what I'm really getting with the
dude.
the big glass boat.
Ranger makes some great aluminums. Believe it or not, the new Crestliner ones, you got to run a comb through them a little bit, But I would honestly suggest like a 19.5-foot aluminum hull, whether that's Ranger or whether that's Crestliner or whoever else you want to go with, and get a 150. That's the ultimate, because you're going to run probably 4,100, 4,200 RPM, and you're going to be right at 50 mile an hour. Your fuel consumption is going to be low. Your hole shot will be insane. You'll be able to run 3 or 4 dudes off that boat, no problem. The aluminums are very beamy, so your stabilization is really, really nice. It's not like a tri-hull on the bottom or anything like that. You have those little ridges under the aluminum, which allow you to get shallower. But dude, they fish great, bro. They fish great. The only time you're going to feel it's a lot more slappy on big water. But, I don't run big water that often, so where it's not even a concern of mine.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Delta is probably the perfect place for that kind of rig, especially.
Yeah, so 2 of the spots I had to go into on my last 2 trips, I had to go through. One spot was 11 inches of water to get into this flat that I'm fishing. And yes, I'm catching big ones in 2 foot of water.
Yep.
81 degrees. Just so you guys are wondering about that. Yep, it's still happening. I had to go through 11 inches of water. I mean, good luck doing that in a glass boat. And if I do get stuck, I can get out and push the boat off.
Oh, yeah. You're not actually going to be suction cup to the bottom like a heavy glass boat or whatever. Have to wait for the tide.
I'm not pushing a glass boat off.
No. And you're a big guy, man. If anyone's going to push a boat off, this guy's going to push
man.
a boat off.
I'm 246.6, and I did MMA for a long ass time, dude. And trust me, I don't want to be in there trying to push a glass boat off, dude. I've been stuck plenty of times on sandbars over the years and other people's glass boats. I got stuck in the freaking Everglades one time, and I'm like, hell no, I'm not getting out. Hell no.
Yeah, that's a different deal out there, for sure.
Something will eat me, dude. I've watched plenty of horrific videos from this place. Yeah. Yeah, it's gnarly, man. But no, for me, it's, man, glass versus aluminum for whatever is affordable, whatever fits your range, man. Whatever you get a good deal on, guys, what gets you out there. I'm frugal, man. I grew up a broke kid. I fish for a living. I won't be rich, but man, I'm rich in heart, dude. Yeah, I got 3 healthy kids, a wife that loves me, and I get to fish 24/7, dude. Blessed. It's hard to ask for anything more, bro. So when people go, why you always smiling, having such a good time and acting like a dork singing songs, I'm fucking happy, bro.
No, that's real. That's real.
Yeah, I'm happy, hater. and hopefully we can cuss on your podcast. Sorry, Riley.
No, it's all good. It's real life out here. I mean, that's what it is. But hey, so I want to give you a chance. I appreciate you obviously coming on and talking to everybody. I know
For sure.
you fish for a living, you do stuff for a living. I want to take some time to talk about some ways people can support you, your current affiliations, sponsors, all that good stuff.
Yeah, guys. I do own my own rod company, Stix Fishing, stixfishing.com. The first set of complete 6 rods that can do everything in regards to bass fishing, essentially like what a set of golf clubs would be to golf. Stix is the same thing in regards to tournament bass fishing. All you need in 6 is the slogan for that. I make all premium gear sold for a much lower price than what I could easily retail these rods, $225 a piece. My social media channels, Informative Fisherman, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. I'm on all those. If you do message me, please give me time. I do make it a point to get back to everybody, but I am a very busy dude. I co-design all Savage Gear freshwater lures. I do design some stuff for big bite lures. I did do some work for Yamamoto, so I'm designing a ton of swim baits, ton of frog stuff right now, flipping stuff. So I am a busy guy. So give me time, and don't think I'm putting you off or being a dick to you. I may have just been tired, and I will get back to you, man. I love everybody. Anybody that supports this industry we're in, all we need is more love. So thanks for listening to this, Riley. Appreciate you having me on, man. You seem like a very cool dude.
Cool, man. All right, we appreciate it. Maybe we'll talk to you again some other time.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, goodbye. All right, well, we just wrapped up the pod with Nick. There was a lot of good information in that thing. It was kind of crazy. It's always kind of tough, kind of trying to think about what to ask a guy like this, especially when we have a limited amount of time. You don't know if you're going to get another opportunity to talk with him, so you kind of want to try and get everything you can. But I think there's no amount of time with some of these guys to actually get all that good information out that you want. But I mean, some of the striper stuff, low tide spots we talked about, some of that stuff, I'm going to need to even listen back to this a couple times and actually get all that information for myself. But yeah, I really appreciate Nick coming on. I can't tell you guys how many people I've hit up trying to get this thing set up and just haven't heard anything back. And for someone, especially with like the following he has, to actually hit me back up and be so open to come on, it was pretty eye opening, and I'm humbled that he actually wanted to come on my deal and kind of show me that support, because I mean, he's going to talk fishing, he's going to do his thing, but I mean, it's going to do a lot more for me than it's going to do for him coming on. So I really appreciate him doing that. But yeah, on a serious note, we talked about that tough toad in the video, and I mean, if you guys have been watching the channel, pretty much like, I don't even know, over 50% of all my frog fish have come on that bait this year. And it really is the real deal. I mean, we went down a little bit of a rabbit hole because that's his little baby, but I mean, that thing's awesome. I mean, I get like hyped throwing it every single time. I wasn't like a super big frog dude a while ago, but I mean, especially in my last couple videos, that's like all I've been doing is throwing that dang frog. I mean, I was catching fish back in March on the Delta on that frog. They were just eating that thing. So definitely pick some of those guys up if you guys want to support him and kind of see the whole deal with that. But yeah, not sure who we're going to have next on the podcast, kind of figuring out some other stuff, but definitely some more Delta people. If there's any questions that you guys have just in general or just discussion points, leave them in the comments, and I'll kind of try and write those down and bring them up for some other people. But I think there's probably a lot of information. Might take a couple listens to really glean everything there was, especially all the different stuff he was talking about. But, a person like that, they just have way more information in there than what's going to come out. So you got to just pick up on what you can and try and apply it next time you go out. So I know a lot of the times the stuff that I do, I'll write some of this down in like a sticky note, or I don't know, put it on my mirror in my room, and then I'll, see it every once in a while and be like, oh yeah, I forgot to try that thing, because I feel like a lot of times people throw you a bone and you grab it and you kind of forget, and then you never end up doing anything with it. So it's important to try and, take those little tips that he said and don't forget them, and try and remind yourself next time you go fish, because that might be the thing that finally gets you the one. So appreciate everybody's support. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.